Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Bucco Brew, powered by DeFair Coffee and Tea. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have the Jim Rosati in the house. What's up, Jim?
What's going on? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hope everybody had a really good Thanksgiving holiday weekend.
I did.
I
had
too.
a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It was tasty. It was delightful. It was over a friend's house, as we typically do every year.
And you shaved.
Okay, so I actually had the worst Thanksgiving ever. At least, it's starting to come back a little bit now. But yeah, it still looks very weird.
Yeah.
I've already explained myself.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear the story, I guess you got to go listen to Sicko Sound Off. That's that. I'm not doing it twice, especially thrice.
It just looks weird.
It does.
Yeah. When was the last time you
shaved? Do you
shaved?
hate it? Is it just weird?
Well, I mean, you look like a person, so I mean, it just looks
like
different.
A person.
I wouldn't say it's any different, any better or worse. You just look different. When was the last time you shaved completely like that before?
So that's the funny part about this is literally my wedding in 2012 was the last time I was like this. That's why my wife's like going crazy over it. It's like, oh my God, I see your face again.
So 13 years since you shaved your beard.
Yeah.
So you got married and you were immediately like, nope, I'm getting a beard.
So I've always been the type where, I mean, I guess I was like clean shaven earlier on, right? But I always hate shaving. So it was like, I was always like this actually a lot of times, I go shave and then be like this often, then shave, I like Bucco Mike used to call you like the dirty beard. I mean, that's, maybe how I was, right? Just, whatever. Then I'll finally shave. And then like closer around
used to call me the dirty beard.
Bucco Mike calls you the dirty beard.
I call you said used to because you said used to. Yeah.
But
John's correcting you. It's dirty, greasy beard. Yeah.
My bad. But yeah, I want to say like closer to the wedding is when I started to maybe start to like get a beard, like a true beard. And then it was after the wedding, like full on. Like I shaved it just because it was like, should I have the beard or no beard? I'm like, it's the wedding. I should probably shave. That's why I was like fully clean shaven then.
Yeah.
And then beard since until Thanksgiving 2025.
Okay.
No, it's not okay. It was okay, Jim. Wouldn't feel this way for a weekend.
Yeah, no, it looks fine. It looks completely fine.
Okay. My mom and wife like it. So
Murray's saying that you look younger, and that's never a bad thing.
And then John says that's not true. However, I'm not sure what he's referring to. Anywho.
All right. Well, we got a show for you. Yeah, we got a show for you this morning. We were doing some research, and we've talked at length about just the things this team is saying, right? Because they said some more stuff last week, kind of in line with everything that we've been hearing all off season. So we can only say so many times, well, I'll believe it when I see it. Believe it when I see it. Like that's kind of the messaging here. So figured let's go ahead. Let's switch things up a little bit. Winter meetings starts in 1 week. DiNardo, you and I will be down there. So that's actually the next Bucco Brew will be live from winter meetings on site. We'll be doing it in the hotel.
Yeah, some lobby somewhere.
Yeah, so really looking forward to that. But yeah, like so when it comes to this off season, did some research, and really I wanted to go back to that 2013 team. That 2013 team won 94 games. It was one of those like, worst to first type performances. Didn't go to first, but like worst to playoffs. Like they were not a great team in 2012. They kind of collapsed there at the end, held their own for a few months, but collapsed. But then 2013 came along and kind of just like put it all together, and they ended up, taking the first wild card spot. So I was thinking, and you were thinking, we kind of had the same idea of just, hey, what do we need to do to recreate that 2013 team? So went back, looked at it, did some math, looked to see, okay, hey, what was that 2013 team's total WAR like? What did their position player breakdown look like? What did their pitching breakdown look like? And how can the 2026 Pirates replicate that? And can it even be done? So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this show. We're just going to talk about, hey, like let's see if we can recreate the 2013 Pirates with what we've got to work with right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like you said, I'm excited about this. Before we do go into it here, let's tell you a little bit about the Fair. So the Fair is a family and employee owned and operated business. They believe that coffee and tea are one of life's simplest and most accessible pleasures, and when enjoyed thoughtfully, can open your eyes to the here and now. They have 5 locations across the city of Pittsburgh, including their flagship in the heart of Pittsburgh's historic Strip District. Don't forget to stop by the Fair's new location downtown on Penn Avenue, right across from the Benedum. Grab a cup and fuel up on your walk to PNC Park. Mobile ordering is available. Check out their Instagram for more details. Of course, that is thefair.com. And if you look in the bottom right there under Jim, you can save yourself 30%. And Jim, why don't you tell everybody how?
Yeah, it's thefair.coffee. So if you go to thefair.coffee, put promo code NS930 in, you'll get 30% off your first order. And I'll add this, like Christmas is right around the corner. Coffee, tea, excellent present. Everybody loves that stuff. Go online, pick yourself up, a couple Christmas presents for folks using NS930. I said you'll save 30% off your order. You can't beat that. Can't beat 30% off, Denario.
It's excellent stuff. As always, I am drinking it right now. I didn't list last time, but I did the time before too. Like I order and ship it to my parents' house when I get there, because my dad is not the most, when it comes to drinks, I think in period, like just general, there's beer, alcohol, coffee. It's just like, is it Busch Light? Is it Folgers in the red can? I'm good. So I have to like prepare myself every time before I come there. Like, all right, am I going to be satisfied? So yeah, I get some. My mom's a big tea drinker. My dad's a big coffee drinker. So it's perfect.
My mom loves their tea. Yeah. She gets their tea. Big fan.
Yep. So satisfy both parties.
Yep.
Let's do it though, Jim. Let's make this team get 38 WAR to get them back to the playoffs. Maybe you can explain a little bit about that whole 38 WAR.
Yeah, so just to kind of dive into some things, the 2013 Pittsburgh Pirates put up 38.1 WAR as a team. Now, what I did here was I used Fangraphs WAR for hitters, Baseball Reference WAR for pitchers. I just feel like that's kind of the most accurate use of the two. Doing a little bit of research for last year, 12 major league teams put up 38 WAR. All 12 made the playoffs except for the Mets and the Diamondbacks. So baseline though, like if you hit 38 WAR, you're probably making the postseason. If you're not making the postseason, you're at least in the mix where you can, hey, let's add something at the deadline. Let's do something here where you can push yourself into it. But I think 38 WAR is kind of a good, realistic thing to strive for here. And it's something that the Pirates really didn't come close to last season. But we both kind of did some exercises here to see like, okay, how can we piece together 38 WAR on this team and what does that look like? So just to kind of revisit the 2013 Pirates, right? This is what they looked like. And Cody's going to be mad because we're using visuals on this. If you're listening to the podcast, we'll try to walk you through this audio. on audio because you can't see the image there. But if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see it really well. But the 2013 Pirates total pitching WAR 15.6. All right. And the position players, they really were carried by three guys. Like, let's face it, Andrew McCutchen had an 8-win season. He won an MVP award. Starling Marte 4.3 WAR, and then Russell Martin had 5, but Michael McHenry I think had minus 0.9. So like as a catcher tandem, they finished with 4.1. So like that, those three players, McCutchen, Marte, and Martin, sort of carried this team's offense. On top of that, they had a couple other like really solid contributors in Neil Walker and Pedro Alvarez. Like those two guys just did a really good job. They were both above average major league starting position players. So like you had a group of 5 guys there where, you just plugged them into the lineup every single day and kind of let them do their thing. The rest of the guys were sort of a supporting cast, right? Like you had platoons in right field. You had Jordy Mercer and Clint Barmas splitting time at shortstop. You had a platoon at first base with Garrett Jones and Gabby Sanchez before getting Justin Morneau there at the very end. But that position player group combined for 22.5 WAR. So 15.6, 22.5, we get 38.1 is what that comes out to. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking to be like, okay, how can we get 38 wins out of this Pittsburgh Pirates team? But the 2013 Pirates, they were it was a well-balanced group. Like you had the one superstar there with Andrew McCutchen sort of carrying things, but they had a nice little supporting cast to go along with them.
Yeah, and you said that they absolutely did. That was like our question on NS9 Live, I think a few shows ago. It's like, where is this team's Marte? Where is this team's Neil Walker? Where is this team's Russell Martin? Like that's part of the problem there is right now. I mean, you hope, like, oh no, Cruz, you hope Brian Reynolds returns, Connor Griffin coming up. There's maybe pieces, but it's like, where's the true like guys that are part of this team that are going to step up and be those solid, role players? Because Kutch was an MVP, 8 WAR. That's the hard part, right? Like Tyler says, the hard part's fixed. If you have Andrew McCutchen, that's the hard part. You have a MVP caliber, on the field right there. But like, if you look at this team certainly doesn't have a Kutch, but flip it, like they have Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens could essentially be the MVP next year. Like that's how good of a pitcher is. He could be an MVP. Certainly going to be in the Cy Young running once again. So like it might not be on the field in the hitting wise, but like you certainly have an MVP caliber person on this team. He just ends up being a pitcher, which is probably why this team's pitching WAR won't be just 15.6. It's probably going to be a little bit higher. It was last year. You think it would sustain at least close to that, right? So you're not going to get the Kutch person on the offensive side, but like, can you get a Marte? Can you get a Walker? Can you get Alvarez and Russell Martin on this squad somewhere? And that's kind of what we're going to build here. So, I think what's funny is, and I'm not going to give any teasers. I do think it's funny the way both of us went about ours.
Yeah. We both did it a little bit differently. So yeah, we'll dive into that. But to bring up your point, like, there's no Andrew McCutchen on this team. And I think even in our wildest dreams from an offensive standpoint, like that's not going to happen in 2026. Like it's not, there isn't really a path to having an 8 WAR position player in 2026. It's just, it's not there. So yeah, how do you do this? But to your point there, Paul Skeens last year 7.7 WAR out of the pitcher spot. So it's like you got to get to 38, right? And so that's kind of what we're gonna do here. And just to kind of take a visit last year on what this looked like, you saw the 2025 Pirates, the pitching staff greatly outperformed the 2013 staff. Like, I mean, going back here, 2013 staff was at 15.6 WAR. The 2025 Pirates staff, 21.9. And I said, Paul Skeens had a third of that. So he certainly carried the group. But like, this is a pitching staff that, when you think of like, hey, I've got to get to 38 wins, like the pitching staff helps you a lot. They help you a lot. Like this rotation that the Pirates have, I'm not going to go out and say this is the best rotation in baseball, but it's top 5. It's top 5. And when you have a top 5 rotation, you just got to put together a group of position players that basically doesn't suck. And the problem with the 2025 Pirates, as you can see, and like I said, we'll go over this too for the folks listening, but this position player group sucked.
Yeah.
Like, they were bad. They totaled 6.6 WAR last season. Joey Bart and Henry Davis combined for 1.2 behind the plate. First base gave you your best value with Horwitz and Valdez combining for 1.9. Second base, Gonzalez and Frazier, 1.2. Third base, Hayes and Triolo, 1.4. IKF, 1.5, along with Triolo at shortstop. So, like, what's crazy is, like, the infield was, I mean, you look at those numbers and like I said, lots of, Dan Szymborski talked about this, like, lots of guys who are probably major league players, but they're like more like role players, supporting cast type guys.
Right.
Like that infield, you piece it together and it's like, that's not the worst infield in the world. They're all at least above a WAR, right? But then you look at the outfield and left field, between Tommy Pham and Alexander Canario, they couldn't even hit replacement level. They were negative WAR. O'Neal Cruz went from almost a 4-win season in 2024 to 1.7 in 2025. In right field, Reynolds and Canario couldn't combine for a single WAR. At DH, McCutchen and Reynolds, 0.2 WAR combined between them. So the outfield was an issue last year. And, I think not getting more out of, the rest of, like, not bumping that infield up to like a 2-win level, like, definitely hurt as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, this team, not only did it lack a star, but an average major league position player puts up 2 WAR. None of these guys hit that.
Exactly. I mean, that's your baseline of just what an everyday player is. Under 2 WAR, you're looking like that's like a platoon type or whatnot. And like you said, like the infield was more or less just a bunch of like platoon guys. Like they belong on a major league roster, likely, right? But they're nothing that's exciting. They're nothing that's helping support the cause. And then, like you mentioned in the show here, like they're all hovering basically like right around 1.5 WAR each position. So like it's not like it's killing you as a team, but it certainly isn't helping. And you're not anywhere near league average in any of those. So yeah, I mean, like the infield was okay-ish. The outfield sucked. And of course the DH just kind of what it was. But going back to the point, like the pitching side, like that is obviously, again, like I understand this team has a lot that they have to do to get to a respectable level to be good, right? But I still like I think we talked about this last year to some level, some degree. They're not that far away per se. If they make the right moves. Now they first off have to make moves, obviously. But if they make the right moves, like they're not totally that far away. Going back to the 21.9 WAR with the pitching, how good they were last year, right? I just want to emphasize in 2013, the team we're modeling after, right? How can we more or less mirror that team to get back there? 15.6 WAR. And again, I understand WAR is a little bit different, but I just want to emphasize here, the Pirates in 2013 had the 3rd best ERA in baseball. Like, again, that's how good this pitching staff was. I know they had Andrew McCutchen out there in the outfield MVP, and that helps offensively clearly. But the pitching was really good that year also. What really carried them was the pitching. 3rd best in the league. I'm sorry, in MLB. This team last year had a higher WAR. The ERA was up there as well. But like what's also kind of scary is now I don't think you can just go in there and assume they're going to be the same. I don't think you can just assume they're going to take a step forward. This is also a pitching staff that could take a step forward. So like you mentioned, top 5 in MLB, You don't want to say it's the best rotation, but like this has the makings that it could potentially be the best rotation of baseball. Certainly top 5. So like that 21.9, and we're trying to get to 38 WAR. But that's what's kind of scary about this team is like the pitching staff could take a next step and be even better.
Yeah. So let's, I mean, do we want to go ahead and just jump right into this? Let's kind of do our exercise here. So yeah. So I mean, you look at this 2025 Pirates, 21.9 WAR pitching, 6.6 WAR position players. Let's figure out a way. How do we get this thing within the the budgetary constraints, all that stuff? How do we get this thing to 38 WAR total? And I took a stab. I took a stab at it. So I'm operating under the baseline that the pitching is taking a little bit of a step back. And they're putting up 19 WAR. So that's going from 21.9 to 19. So taking a little bit of a step back, but still being like a really good pitching staff, right? All right. From there, you got to at least, like, you do need, I know the words internal improvement are a thing where it's like, I don't want to hear that, but it's like, you do have to have at least some internal improvement here. And I tried to make sure that the internal improvement that I relied on wasn't anything outrageous where, hey, you know what, like that can't happen. All of the numbers I put on here, these players have done it before. And they're not far removed from this type of performance at all. So I'm starting off at catcher, and I'm just rolling with Joey Bart and Henry Davis. And last year, that combo combined for 1.2 WAR. You got to get 2 WAR out of Henry Davis and Joey Bart in 2026. Then moving over to first base, Horwitz basically just needs to repeat last year's production. 2 wins, right? 2 wins out of your catching spot, 2 wins out of your first base spot.
Gonzalez in too. He was, think about how injured he was, right? I mean, he came in late. Like that shouldn't be that difficult to do, since you mentioned like he essentially did it last year in 2/3 of a season.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, that should be
he was bad
doable.
the first month.
Then moving over to second base, last year, Gonzalez and Frazier combined for 1.2. I'm asking Gonzalez and Triolo to combine for 1.5. Again, this isn't a big ask. I need 1.5 WAR out of my second baseman. I need them to be a slightly below average second base combo. That's all I need. Here's where things get a little bit, like, here's where you have to make the jump, though. So this team cannot rely on internal improvements. They have to go out there and they have to get productive major league hitters. And if they don't, they're screwed. Like, plain and simple. If they go out there and they get this year's equivalent of Tommy Pham and Adam Frazier, this team is screwed. They're not making the playoffs. It's not happening. They have to go out there and get productive major league hitters. This is something that we just haven't been able to do. Ben Cherington has not been able to execute this part of the plan. So this is where my skepticism starts falling, where, okay, you've got to do these things, and we haven't seen the Pirates do this yet. So this is where it's like, all right, can they accomplish this? So I'm going out there and I'm getting Eugenio Suarez. That is my big splash of the offseason. That's who I'm plugging in at third base. And I'm just assigning 3 WAR to him, which would be a pretty, like, that would be a step back from what he did last year. But, you know, you're getting a 3 WAR player out of Suarez. You're getting some offense. Then at shortstop, you know, I'm kind of rolling with maybe starting with Triolo, but Connor Griffin's going to be joining there very, very soon. Griffin and Triolo are combining for 2.5 wins at shortstop, which I don't think is, again, asking too much. That kind of, once Griffin gets called up, he just looks like an average major league shortstop. Like, that's kind of what we're saying here. He's only going to be 20 years old. I don't think you can expect MVP caliber numbers from him just yet, but I think we should be able to expect him to be a somewhat solid contributor right off the bat. So the infield all of a sudden goes from just like a bunch of guys who were below average to at least looking like an average major league infield.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people are talking about Rafael Flores down in the comments. I think Flores plays a role on this team. The swing and miss stuff is a little concerning. The fact that he's not really that great defensively is a little concerning, but he'll definitely play a role here. He may split some time with Horwitz at first against lefties as well, but Flores will play a role. This isn't 26 men that I have listed on here. These are just kind of the main guys. All right, so Suarez, my big splash at third, but then I'm also I'm really making sure that left field gets better. And I'm rolling with a platoon of Mike Yastrzemski and Rob Refsnyder in left field. Both guys who can likely be had on 1-year deals. Both guys aren't going to break the bank. Like Yastrzemski is going to probably get somewhere in like the $10 to $12 million range, I would expect. Refsnyder will probably be around 5. So like that combo will cost you, a 15-ish, 15 to 17-ish million dollars maybe. But those two players are going to combine to be a pretty darn good left fielder. I mean, if you look at just what they did last year, Mike Yastrzemski put up 2.4 WAR, but against righties, a 126 weighted runs created plus. And then Rob Refsnyder had a 1 WAR season. Against lefties, he had a 159 weighted runs created plus. So between the two of them, you're creating like a really good left fielder who can hit the ball. You just gotta make sure that you're putting them both in the best position to succeed. So I'm getting 2.5 wins out of a Yastrzemski Refsnyder platoon, and I think that's even being a little bit conservative. I think you can maybe even get more than that, but that's what I'm asking for here. Now, the next two is where like you got to see the internal improvement though. Because like you're kind of stuck with these guys. Like there's no finding replacements for either of these two players. Oneil Cruz has to give you a 3-win season in center field. And you may say, I'm not expecting anything from Cruz. He sucks. Look at him. He can't even bat 200. I mean, Oneil Cruz is 1 year removed from a 3.6 win season.
Right.
I'm not saying like last year we were talking about how this team needed Cruz to like kind of take that next step forward and be an MVP. I'm not saying that anymore. I don't know if that's there. I don't know if that's in him at this point. But a 3-WAR season is in there. We've seen it. Like we saw it a year ago. 3 wins out of Cruz is what you need in center field. Brian Reynolds needs to bounce back to being Brian Reynolds, and you need 2 WAR out of Brian Reynolds, which again, his last 4 seasons before last year, 2.2, 2.1, 2.9, 6.3. Like this isn't asking for the moon here. And then I'm bringing Kutch back. I'm bringing Kutch back, and maybe don't give him 140 starts. Don't give him 140 starts this year, but like get a half a WAR at Andrew McCutchen at DH. So that's how I'm getting to this. I'm getting 19 WAR pitchers, 19 WAR hitters. In order to make these moves, and kind of going back to the 2013 team, that team overperformed because it had an absolute shutdown bullpen.
Yes.
Like a shutdown bullpen will make your team win more games than it should. So you're seeing my pitching WAR take a little bit of a step back. The reason for doing that, and I'm doing this begrudgingly, I don't love to do this, but Keller's gone. Keller's traded. And as you can see on this list, Keller isn't even anyone who's on this list. Like Keller's being traded still useful pieces. And if you get somebody who can help out the major league team, cool. But in this scenario, Keller's traded mostly for prospects and or salary relief. Like it's a salary dump. Let's just call it what it is. You're dumping Keller's salary. But what I am doing is I'm taking the money that I'm saving there. I'm going out and I'm getting these hitters. And then I'm going out and I'm really adding some good bullpen options to strengthen that, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth innings, so that when you do get a 2-1 lead or a 3-2 lead, you can hold it. I didn't go out there and tell you exactly what that pitching looks like. There's a lot of free agent relievers out there. There's a lot of relievers available. So like that can look that can look a ton of different ways, but I'm taking the pitching WAR down about 3 WAR. I'm adding to this position player group, and I am going out there and I'm picking up 2 to 3 good relievers so that when you do get a lead, you hold the lead. Or if you are down 1, late in the game, you stay down 1 and give these guys a chance to come back and win it. So that's how I'm constructing this team, and that's how I'm getting the 38 wins. And like I said, that should be enough, but that's how I'm going about it.
Yeah. No, I like it. And that's what I thought was funny, is because you're all against trading Keller, right? Like, don't trade him, don't trade him. And then this model, you do end up trading him. But what that allowed you to do is go ahead and get that bopper, that's Suarez. That's a guy a lot of people just don't fathom that the Pirates can get. Like they're not going to go and be in on Suarez here. They can't do that. And he hit a lot of home runs. So that helps this team certainly, a bit there. But of course, you had to do so you had to trade Keller more or less to go ahead and do so. But yeah, I like this team. Like you mentioned, the Yastrzemski and Refsnyder. That's an all-star player in the aggregate.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're getting to. Those guys can mash in those splits, right? And that type of a platoon there. So adding Suarez, the platoon of them too, like this offense takes a step forward now. I went about mine a little bit differently. And what's funny was, like you mentioned, we both kind of had this idea like at the same time. Over the weekend, just pondering, just thinking, what's the realistic path this team can do? And we talk about identity, a lot. Like, what is this team's identity? What are they going to do? And like I mentioned on, I think, the point when I was on there, it's like, regardless of how this team improves, even right now, what you're showing, right? That was up there. This team isn't still going to be like top 10 in home runs. Like they can go out there and get a bopper, but like this team's still not going to be like, their identity is not going to be like, okay, we can mash. So is it really worth like going all in to get these home run hitters or whatnot to still be like 20th in power and such, or like, do you want to do things a little bit differently? Like when I look back at the 2013, 2014, 2015 seasons, 2015 honestly was like the best offensive year, in those 3, right? That's when the team kind of broke out offensively, respectable numbers. But like when you look at that, it was still, I think, 7th in runs. I think it was 17th in OPS. Like it still wasn't like this mashing team. Like there's still a 97 weighted runs created plus. We talk time and time again, all this team needs to be is below average. That's all we're asking for, is to be a below average team. Just don't be awful offensively. Just be below average and you're in the playoffs. But like it seemed as like that team prioritized, that we saw, pitching and defense. Now, again, it helps when you have Kutch, but regardless, like defense was a priority. Of course, the shifting wasn't there. So it was like, forward thinking type defense, but defensively they were strong. They could at least handle a bat. So if you want to pull up mine here, is it the 3rd one or 4th?
4th one.
Pull up then. Yeah, like I did it a little bit differently. Because also, too, it's like, are they really going to be in on us, Suarez? Truthfully, like I know you want to, and that's fine. Like your GM Jim was able to get him in there. This guy can negotiate, right? Give me Jim as a GM, I'll be happy. GM Ben Cherington, I'm afraid, can't really negotiate. Maybe he's not going to bring in Suarez. So I felt like, who are some trade targets that kind of fit this mold? And of course, I'm looking upgrade offensively, not the boppers that you kind of brought in, but upgrade offensively. That way they can get to about league average. But I'm really emphasizing defense here. And like the one person that stands out is Stephen Kwan. I mean, for one, really, really good outfielder. And again, we saw how the outfield was last year. It was bad, right? So adding in a Stephen Kwan, also defensively, left field. I mean, again, like when you thought of Marte was very strong defensively. You had Kutch in center, like that. That's why that Marte was kind of the glue and what really made that defense stand out, because PNC Park left field is a beast of itself. You kind of need two center fielders, and that's what the Pirates had. And adding in Stephen Kwan, that arm, the defense, very strong defensively. He's about a league average hitter. Now, 2024, a 130 weighted runs created plus. Like there's more in him also, but like the thing is, like his baseline is like he's a walking 3-WAR player. He's going to cost in arbitration probably about $8.8 million. So you're not breaking the bank there. Like I liked your platoon, but that platoon was still equaling about 15 million. This is a way to it's going to be different. Like the value's coming differently. It's not coming really through the hitting that your platoon does, but the defense is going to be strong and the guy can handle the bat. Also, like he doesn't swing and miss. He gets on base relatively good, right? About 10%, a little bit under that. Doesn't strike out a bunch. Like his contact, like the contact rate in the zone, I think is a 96%. This guy does not swing and miss. Something this team's lacking. So I like that. Like the one thing that we kind of liked about the IKF trade when it happened was that like he's not great offensively, but the guy puts the ball in play. That's what Stephen Kwan does, but a much higher level than IKF, obviously. So that was my first trade target. My second one is, okay, let's go around the infield. We got third base. You got second base. Connor Griffin's coming up this Triolo, so I think shortstop's fine. But like, where can I manage that at? And like, Ernie Clement just keeps coming up. First off, because he plays all the positions. So it's like, if I get him there, then it makes things easier because I can go out and find whoever just wants to come. And then I can plug Clement into the other position that he's not there. But also like very good defensively. Ernie Clement, very good defensively at third, very good defensively at second. Also has played first, also has played short. I think he played left field in 2024 a few times. So the versatility makes him a valuable player to me. The strong defense makes him valuable. And to the Quan effect, like he's not he doesn't have the upside as like a 130, 30% above league average hitter, right? He's probably going to be right under league average. But the same thing with Quan is like he hits the ball. He makes contact. Now he's certainly more of a free swinger. Think about Marte. Now, not as good as Marte, but think about the thing about Clement is he's going to frustrate the hell out of a lot of people. I will say that. He is going to frustrate the hell out of a lot of people because he's a free swinger. But he hits the ball. He makes contact with it. He does not strike out. So like I'm adding two guys here that also have really good bat to ball skills. They're not going to hit for a ton of home runs, clearly, right? But they do add a little bit of a few home runs here and there. That's why the next one is I'm bringing in, and also Ernie Clement are going to be about $4.4 million. So actually, the two guys that I'm bringing in are still under like that, the platoon that you're talking about, certainly under Suarez's contract, right? So I'm bringing guys via trade that are cost effective, also have some time. And Clement's going to be 30 years old, all kinds of service time available. Quan, 2 years remaining. So, I mean, it's not just for this year, it's for next year if there is a season. But those are the two guys I'm bringing via trade. Now, it's not really a thumper, right? But a guy who does hit some home runs here, and that's Jorge Polanco. I do really like Jorge Polanco as a guy on this team. I think he's in the budget. Like that's a guy that his team truly could afford. That's also going to be, air quotes, a splash, if that makes sense. I mean, he's looked at to be about 3 years, $42 million. Like if the Pirates did that this year, everyone would be shocked. It's still pathetic, but everyone would be shocked, right? But I think like that's the splash that the Pirates could essentially afford. And then you build in like the Quan, the Clement via trade. That's still very affordable. So Polanco, also a guy that could play third, could play obviously second here. He DHs quite a bit. So like I like the flexibility with the Clement and Polanco as well. You already have Triolo there. Horowitz. I kind of look at, again, Polanco here is a 2-WAR player. At second, Clement 1.5. I mean, he was basically like a walking 2-WAR player. Just buffer in to make it a little less 1.5. Quan's a walking 3-WAR, but like all those guys could be better than what they're showing here for sure. Even Polanco.
Yeah.
Polanco, yep. I feel like has the most risk. Polanco, I feel like could be like a 1-WAR player, 1.5, unfortunately. But he certainly could be better than 2-WAR. He was last year, right? Pencil in to be about 2-WAR, maybe some regression here. What I'd like about, I shouldn't say what I like, but what I wonder with Polanco is because he's not what the other two are defensively. And I like the versatility with Triolo. I like the versatility with Clement. Horwitz is obviously going to be a platoon in my eyes. Can we give Polanco a first base glove? I think that would help out a lot here too. Like if he's a switch hitter, the two guys I brought in are lefties. He's a switch hitter. Could he maybe platoon with Horwitz? And that way you can have Triolo playing second base when he's not. Maybe there's a possibility there. Regardless, those are the three guys I'm bringing in. And here's the kicker. All said and done, as the team's constructed, $95 million, Jim. Like that's going maybe a little bit higher than what you're hearing. Like, what you think like they're going to probably match last year. That's reasonable, but there is some talks. Maybe they'll extend it a little bit. But I just want to say though, is that's all with keeping Mitch Keller. So what's ironic is you've been for keeping Mitch Keller. You build a model that you have to trade him for. You have to trade Mitch Keller because there's no way you can build a team that's going to be competitive if you keep him. And I was able to actually keep him and put this team together. Now, so what I did was, since I'm keeping Mitch Keller, I put the pitching total to 19.5 WAR. You had it at 19, right? So keeping Keller, probably going to be a little bit better. Again, they certainly could be much better than 19.5 WAR. But my offense is a little bit, just a shade worse than what yours is. Mine's at 18.5, but still very comparable, right? I mean, we're looking, this is a very, very evenly distributed team right now, pitching and hitting wise, that you built and I built. Just slightly different, but one keeps Keller, one trades him, right? The one that you trade him, you got more boppers. I kept him. Mine was more role players, if that makes sense, but solid ones. And that's the thing, like they lift the floor. Both of these lift the floor, and that's what I think is most important, right? Like last year, you have to get internal improvements, like you mentioned. You have to. This team can't be good if O'Neal Cruz doesn't improve. This team can't be good if Reynolds doesn't improve. Like you have to have some internal improvements here. But these moves, I think, certainly stabilize the team. And again, going back to mine, I just really do enjoy and like the fact that Clement and Quan, really good contact skills, don't strike out. Polanco adds a little bit of pop at second base. And also in doing this, I didn't trade Keller, but I am trading Nick Gonzalez.
Yeah. I mean, I like this team. If Ben Cherington were to go out there and execute Steven Kwan, Ernie Clement, and Jorge Polanco, it would be a pretty hell of an offseason for him. I feel like Kwan can be had. You've got a pretty large stable of pitchers that Cleveland would be interested in.
They certainly need right now.
You got Horwitz out of them last year for got Ortiz. So maybe even like an Oviedo or a that, like something like that. 50 prospect, like nothing outrageous, but Oviedo plus lands Quan, because they have talked about moving him. And Polanco certainly, like if you're looking at free agents who were kind of within reach, Jorge Polanco is certainly within reach. The one thing, trading for Ernie Clement is going to be a task. And like I said, if he's able to execute something like that, cool. Because I haven't really heard anything that the Blue Jays are looking to get rid of him either. Like
I haven't either, but like he seems like a guy that
3 WAR last year and was a pretty good piece of that postseason team. He is certainly someone who, though, like Ernie Clement is Jared Triolo on steroids. I feel, kind of that guy who can kind of play all over the infield, but he's extremely capable at the plate as well. So I like Ernie Clement a lot. I question the ability to land him. But I mean, looking at Jorge Polanco, definitely is within reach. I think Quan can be had, and I like the idea of adding Quan out there to left. Um, so yeah, I mean, I like your team. I think your team just takes a little bit more skill, right? Because you gotta get another team to say yes to trading you a couple guys. Um, so yeah, I think that's the main thing with this exercise though is like for everyone who says like this isn't possible, it's it's possible. Like
Mhm.
it is possible for this team to get 8 wins. Like a 30 like 38 wins is over replacement. That's what we're looking for. And if you get to 38 wins over replacement, you are positioning yourself to play in the postseason. Plain and simple. That's what the math says. You do need some guys to get a little bit better, but I think the main thing here is you have to bring in 2 to 3 productive major league hitters. Because if you don't, there's no possible way to get to where you need to be.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
No.
Your current group of guys plus just some random dudes that you signed off the scrap heap because you whiffed on everyone who was worth actually acquiring or that other teams actually wanted. You're not going to build a winner with that. You are going to have to beat other teams at acquiring some decent players. And that's where Ben Cherington and this is why I was so set on moving away from Cherington. It wasn't that like I think he's done a good job building the pitching rotate. Like the staff is there. We already talked about it. Like it's there. But he needs to go out there now and he needs to identify and actually acquire good position players. And he's talked about how he's tried. Well, he's failed every time he's tried.
Yeah.
So that's why I was so adamant about moving on from him. It's like you can do this without a rebuild. You can do this without tearing this whole thing down, but it's going to take actually executing your plan in the offseason. And that's what we haven't seen over the last 6 years.
Absolutely. Again, like we question if there even is a plan, but if there is a plan, as we've kind of seen, it's not executed well. And
Yep.
we do here. Yeah. Like even think about like Imanaga. Like the Pirates essentially, what we've heard, offered him more money. But the problem is too, like, why would he want to come here? And that's what's hard about the free agency. You know, that's why my side, I was kind of targeting trades more. But the problem with this offseason, right? Like this is what I want to say about the whole offseason, all the rumors and such, right? I do believe the Pirates are in on players wanting to do something. Of course, Ben Cherington has to. He has to. This is it for Ben Cherington. If he wants a job, he has to do something this year. His back's to the wall. So I do believe that he's maybe like desperate mode to some level, but like he's going to do something. I shouldn't say he's going to. He wants to do something. So I'm sure that net's casted wide and far, right? So they're in on a lot of players, talking to a lot of players. What are we going to do? This is why you needed to do something earlier. We mentioned this over and over and over again, Jim. You know, like you have to show desire and want to build and want to win earlier because now the problem is, you want to, but every free agent looks and says, Pittsburgh? And I'm saying every single one, right? But again, like that's the problem you're in. Like, do they trust to sign here? Or is it like, I'm not sure what they're going to build here. I'm not sure. I'll go to Milwaukee. I'll go to New York. I'll go to wherever. So this is the bed you've made, Ben Cherington. You know, because you've been so awful for so long. Now that you're desperate, now that you have to do something this year. You haven't built that trust. You haven't built that culture here. You're hoping the guy that you bring in this year will build that. And that takes a lot of trust for them to put that pen to ink and say, okay, let's do it here. You really limited yourself. You've put yourself in a bad spot because of the way you've operated for so many years. That's the problem. Anywho,
Yep.
it can happen. It can happen as we showed. But it's going to take in both of ours, it's 2 to 3 bats at least.
It can happen. And again, it's gonna take a mix. Like you do need your guys to get better. That has to happen. And if you look at the 2013 Pirates, they had a lot of guys get better. Now, you don't need them to get crazy better. You just need to get them to be a little bit better. Just a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do have to go out there and find people, because otherwise, like the internal the hopeful internal improvements aren't enough. Just they're not going to be enough.
Right.
O'Neal Cruz can go back to being a 4-win player. Brian Reynolds can go back to being a 2-win player. You can call up Connor Griffin. Nick Gonzalez can be a 2-WAR player. Henry Davis can be a 1.5, 2-WAR player. But like that isn't enough to get this team over the top. They need to get 2 or 3 productive major league hitters on this team, or they're going to fall short.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we all know in baseball, of course, you can't bank on every one of those players doing that. And who's going to get injured this year, right? Like things happen. Things happen. That's why you have to build yourself that safety net, right? That's why when we did these, like we didn't put Cruz at 4, put Bart and, Henry Davis at 2.5 or 3. Like we didn't do how you build in some bit of a buffer, because things are also going to happen. So with a little bit of a buffer, but also understanding that the improvements have to happen, and they can. Again, like I think we're very safe in a lot of these projections, like we put there. There's certainly players that could underperform what we had up there, but there's certainly players that could outperform, and like without question. So that's what you need. You need some safeness. You need to raise this floor here. And again, you need some competent bats, and I think players that have done it before also. Horwitz worked out, but I don't think you could depend on 3 Horwitz type moves this offseason to assure yourself that you're there. You kind of need some guys that have been there. You kind of need some vets that have done it and help out this club. You kind of need an identity.
I agree.
So yeah, that was fun. I think it was a good exercise.
Yeah, and again, I mean, winter meetings in 1 week, so like we're getting to the point now where like stuff's gonna start happening. You don't have an Ohtani or Soto out there this year to kind of like hold everything up. You got Kyle Tucker, you've got Alex Bregman, like you've got a couple big names, but there's no mega $800 million deal sitting out there this offseason that's gonna just, I think, really delay everything. So hopefully, we get some stuff happening next week.
Yeah, I'm excited. You and I will be there as usual in Orlando. Some people asked, is there a slide again? And I mean, of course, we don't know. That was the hotel that had the slide last year.
Yeah,
but we got to find something this year.
Hopefully there's something, I can do. If there's not a slide, I mean, there is Disney World, right?
It is Disney.
To. Like maybe it's, maybe I go on a ride on Disney at Disney World.
Do that hot air balloon in Disney Springs?
The hot air. Ooh, okay, yeah. That way you don't have to even go in the park. I've never been on a hot air balloon. That's scary. Hot air balloon kind of scares me because like everything else, I feel like there's some safety parameters. Like a hot air balloon's just like, we're gonna trust that this thing is gonna fly.
Well, I do believe it only goes so high. Like I think it's attached to like a rope.
Well, still,
it just allows you to like kind of see above.
Let's say if you're 150 feet in the air, and all
water.
Of a sudden
there's cold water below,
filled with alligators.
Yes.
Actually, good. I don't think they have alligators at Disney World. I've never seen them.
I'll just say this, like they probably don't, but
I'll bet they do. I'll bet Mickey Mouse. I'll bet Mickey Mouse does a really good job of like making sure the alligators aren't there.
we've seen alligators. I have absolutely seen it. I'm not sure like right then and there, but when we took the boat, we've definitely seen alligators.
Oh. Then that balloon better fly.
Anywho. They won't bite. You're good. I'm excited though. Next week, like you mentioned, we'll be live doing this from the Swan and Dolphin somewhere. Yeah, see there. Oh, that's right. There was a kid. Remember, there was a kid.
I don't remember that.
That's right.
See, yeah, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to get eaten by an alligator. That sounds awful. It sounds really bad.
If Ben Cherington makes a trade, Jim will get eaten by an alligator.
If the Pirates sign Kyle Schwarber,
Jim will get eaten by an alligator. There it is.
No, I never said
the slide this year. Jim's getting eaten by an alligator. Love it. Good talk. I'm glad we talked through that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Again, our next Bucco Brew will be live on location like we have the last few years. So that'll be
for sure. All right. Well, then, with that being said, obviously we have NS9 live this week. The Point on Friday, of course, that returns. I'm loving that. I'm loving the new style of The Point. And
yeah, it's been really good. It's been really good. We've had 2 episodes so far. I'll need to round up four guys for Friday. So stay tuned on that one.
Absolutely.
Check the NS9 Twitter. Don't check mine.
Since yours is non-existent.
Yeah.
But absolutely. And then, of course, if any emergency podcast brews, we'll have that. But I'm excited for next week also because, again, the winter meetings, the draft order will be finalized. So we're going to find out Tuesday night when the Pirates select.
It's a big deal.
2026 MLB draft.
Yeah.
The
third best
draft
odds
happens on Wednesday.
Yeah. Third best odds at the number 1 pick. So like they could get a third number 1 pick here in a 5-year span.
They could. So there's all that. But all right, we're going to get out of here. We appreciate you all as always for watching, tuning in. And again, if you're listening on the podcast, leave a review. We appreciate those. Tune in maybe on YouTube also to watch us here and there, like shows like today, a lot of visuals. If you're watching YouTube, we appreciate you guys. If you want, you can click the link below, be a member, 99 cents, get you all the cool emojis and such. Join our Discord, join our Patreon. A lot of cool stuff happening this offseason. It's go time now. I feel like now that it's December 1st, like this is when the offseason of baseball like truly starts happening. So let's get there. I'm ready for like things to happen and not just talk.
Let's do it. Let's start executing some of this offseason. Let's start executing some of this offseason plan.
That's it. All right. We'll see you guys later. We love you all. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.